There are names in the galaxy that cling to the marrow of memory, though no herald's roll records them, and no shrine bears their sigil. They linger in the edge places of recollection, half-whispered by veterans whose service should have ended centuries ago, carried in fragments of song by void navigators who cannot say where they first heard the words. Sons of the Phoenix, a title that ought not to exist and yet persists, suspended between remembrance and erasure. Worlds scarred by their campaigns retain impressions that outlast testimony. A scorched desert plain where vitrified sand still carries the outlines of immense armoured tread. A hallowed cliff face where the outline of armoured giants was carved into rock by those who swore never to forget. These remnants do not name the chapter directly, yet they breathe the sense of something dislocated. Warriors resplendent, yet untethered, their passing preserved only as a distortion in local myth. In the dark expanses between stars, such traces accumulate into rumour. Rogue traders tell of battle barges gleaming like captured fire, seen only once, yet never mistaken for any known fleet. Ministorum preachers have warned of a chapter whose deeds inspire awe, yet whose heraldry evokes an unease they cannot name. And within the closed circles of the Adeptus Astartes themselves, there are those who mutter of cousins too brilliant, too burnished, too strange to sit comfortably within the Gene Brotherhood. What does it mean when remembrance itself falters? When the Imperium, with its mania for record and ritual, allows such lacunae to persist? It is as though the stars themselves resist the telling. For in every story that circles these warriors, there runs a tension, a strain, as if some deeper truth presses beneath the surface, yet never breaks. The Phoenix, an image of death undone, of fire given form again. To claim such a name is to court suspicion, for it echoes too closely of old rebellions and treacherous grandeur. And still, the name survives, carved into ceramite by hands that must have known the danger, born into battle standards that should have been struck down by decree. And yet, they fly still. Perhaps this is the reason memory fractures. Perhaps this is why worlds remember their presence only as dreamlike residue. A chapter that burns so bright, it distorts the act of recollection itself, leaving only impressions of brilliance and absence. If one listens long enough to the remnants, a question emerges, unasked by the Munitorum, unspoken by the High Lords, yet alive in the recesses of those who dare wonder. What lineage can claim such a name without drawing the ire of history itself? And so the initiation begins. With absence. With testimonies that falter. With the sense of something deliberately buried, yet too potent to stay forgotten. For to whisper Sons of the Phoenix is to draw close to a flame that should never have been kindled. The Sons of the Phoenix reveal themselves most readily through their wars, for the field of battle is the truest scripture of the Adeptus Astartes. To study their campaigns is to witness a chapter that wages war not merely as duty, but as performance, each engagement marked by martial precision and a grandeur that verges on the theatrical. Their heraldry, a blazing icon of fire made flesh, speaks to this ethos. Their armour gleams in striking hues, polished and burnished, until light scatters from them like shards of a star. A sight meant to inspire allies as much as it is to daunt enemies. They fight with an emphasis upon speed and concentrated violence. Assault formations predominate, striking in sudden arcs of flame and fury. Drop pods plunge like meteors, disgorging squads that advance in disciplined sweeps. Their devastator and fire support cadres do not linger at distance, but rather move in close, saturating the enemy with overwhelming volleys before shifting position. To those who have observed them, the Sons of the Phoenix seem to embody a philosophy of relentless advance. Foes are given no time to regroup, no line is allowed to stabilize. Their fleet mirrors this aggression. Strike cruisers and battle barges of their chapter bear names that evoke burning, renewal, and transfiguration. Records speak of vessels such as the Pyrrhic Vow and the Aurora's Spear, craft that emerge from the warp with all weapons primed and squads ready for immediate deployment. These warships are rarely seen idling in orbit. Their commanders prefer to strike swiftly, seize initiative, and press the assault until nothing remains of their foe but embers. The chapter's fortress monastery, whose exact world remains curiously obscure in Imperial archives, is whispered to lie upon a planet of jagged peaks and volcanic activity. Some accounts place it within Segmentum Pacificus, others suggest a more secretive bastion close to the Maelstrom, but the truth remains elusive. What is consistently repeated is the imagery of fire, ash, and light, an environment that mirrors their very identity, where the ground itself seems aflame, and the sky often veiled in cinders. From such a crucible they launch their fleets, an echo of their very name, to be born from fire and to carry it forth. Their structure, at least in outward form, hews to the Codex Astartes, 10 companies, each with its captain, chaplain, apothecary, and complement of warriors. Yet even here there are peculiarities. Their veteran formations are disproportionately large, often deployed in ornamented artificer armour and entrusted with relic blades of extraordinary craftsmanship. Likewise, their librarius is said to be extensive for a chapter of their scale, with psychic auguries and flame-wreathed displays preceding their assaults. Observers within the Ordo Astartes have noted this excess, though whether it is born from Imperial Fist stock or from something else is a matter of contention. In every battlefield report, one note recurs. The Sons of the Phoenix fight as if they are being watched, judged, and remembered. Their engagements carry a pageantry that goes beyond simple efficacy. Standards are raised even in the midst of slaughter. Hymns are intoned across voxcasters as the enemy reels, and their warriors seem to burn with a kind of inner radiance. To allies, this can be inspiring beyond measure. To foes, it can appear uncanny, almost as though these Astartes revel in their own myth as much as in their duty. Yet beneath the blaze of their glory lies a lingering question. From where did this philosophy arise? What lineage nurtured such obsession with brilliance, spectacle, and war as theatre? The records speak of Rogal Dorn's discipline, yet the spirit here feels stranger, more flamboyant, more reminiscent of a different, older legion, whose memory the Imperium has sought to forget. The Imperium proclaims with certainty that the Sons of the Phoenix descend from the blood of Rogal Dorn, their genocide a gift of the stoic Imperial Fists. In formal roles of the Adeptus Terra, they are categorized among the Great Dornian Brotherhood, brothers in arms to the Crimson Fists, the Black Templars, and the myriad other successors who carry the unbreakable line of the Praetorian of Terror. Their iconography, in part, bears this stamp of approval. Their sergeants recite litanies that echo Fist doctrine. Their fortress monastery reportedly houses reliquaries styled after the Phalanx's vaults, and in council they speak with the same grave adherence to defence and duty. Yet to examine them closely is to feel the pattern fray. The Imperial Fists and their progeny embody endurance and the art of siegecraft, their identity rooted in patience, stoicism, and grim labour upon walls of stone. The Sons of the Phoenix, by contrast, prosecute war with flamboyant charge, exultant display, and an obsession with radiance. They do not encircle and starve their foe, they immolate them in a conflagration of sudden strikes. Their veterans adorn themselves with finery beyond the dour standard of Dawn's sons, carrying weapons whose artistry seems at odds with the austerity of their supposed lineage. Apothecarian records are scarcer still. Where Imperial Fist Genostock is famously stable, one of the most reliable among the Primarch legacies, the Sons of the Phoenix demonstrate peculiar anomalies. Their warriors exhibit heightened metabolic vigour, an ability to sustain near-unbroken campaigns with little degradation. Their ocular implants, too, display a subtle variance, refracting light in a way some tech priests have described as an aesthetic aberration, though the chapter itself insists it is a mark of their sanctity. The Inquisition, in its more guarded testimonies, has noted that gene screenings conducted in rare joint campaigns produce readings that sit uncomfortably beside the expected fist pattern. Variations too minor to condemn, too persistent to ignore. These reports often vanish into silence, their authors reassigned or their data absorbed into locked archives. Still, word spreads, whispers among Ordo Hereticus cells, speculation among savants who know that every gene line bears its fingerprint. If they are indeed Sons of Dawn, then they are Dawn transformed, refracted through a flame that alters his stoicism into spectacle. If they are not, then what masquerade sustains this claim? For the Adeptus Terra does not bestow gene lineage lightly, and to falsify such a heritage would require authority beyond that of any chapter master. It would require the intervention of one who could bend both science and decree, one whose hand reached deep into the vaults of forbidden genostock, one who has already shaped the new age of the Primaris. And so suspicion turns inevitably to Belisarius Cawl. Was it his will that placed the Mask of Dawn over a different, older inheritance? Did he weave gene lines long forbidden into the guise of loyalty, clothing ancient disgrace in the mantle of imperial legitimacy? The mask holds for now. The Imperium calls them Dawn's Get, and their deeds are recorded as proof. But beneath the burnished armour and phoenix flame, the question remains: what if the mask were torn away? What if the sons of the Phoenix were revealed not as heirs of the Praetorian, but as something far older and far more dangerous? To contemplate the hand of Belisarius Cawl is to gaze into a labyrinth where truth and deceit coil together like serpents. The Archmagos Dominus, architect of the Primaris project, claims to have acted at the behest of Robut Guilliman, his every work bent toward the salvation of the Imperium. Yet Cawl himself has admitted, in cryptic aside, and in words caught by witnesses who later vanished, that he experimented beyond mandate. He speaks of vaults opened, of sequences tested, of legacies restored. What then did he truly unlock? The suspicion endures that the sons of the Phoenix were never meant to be Dawn's children at all. Their brilliance, their obsession with perfection, their extravagant radiance, these are not the hallmarks of the Praetorian's gene line. They recall instead the pride of another lineage, the Emperor's children, whose obsession with flawless form led them into Fulgrim's damnation. To even whisper such a thought is heresy, for their genocide was long declared prohibitus, their corruption beyond cleansing. Yet if any mind in the galaxy would dare sift their fragments, purify their essence, and cloak them in another Primarch's name, it would be Cawl's. Why would he risk such a blasphemy? Perhaps he calculated that the genetic legacy of Fulgrim, stripped of warp taint, still bore qualities unmatched. Superlative reflexes, enhanced sensory acuity, an aesthetic cohesion of body and mind. In an age where the Imperium stood upon the edge of annihilation, Cawl may have judged the gamble worthwhile. By wrapping these altered heirs in the mantle of Dawn, he hid his work behind the most steadfast and loyal of legacies. Who would question warriors declared sons of Terra's great defender? Yet to imagine this deception unveiled is to envision catastrophe. If the sons of the Phoenix are truly born of the Emperor's children, then every victory they win is tainted by association, every laurel they wear a potential seed of corruption. The Inquisition would descend upon them without hesitation. Entire war zones might ignite in purges as allies recoiled from their touch. Even the Adeptus Astartes, bound by honour and bloodline, might turn upon them in fratricide to erase the shame of Fulgrim's return through his children's children. And yet, there is another possibility. What if Cawl's heresy was also his triumph? What if he succeeded in doing what even Malcador the Sigillite dared not attempt? Redeeming a fallen gene line, cleansing it of damnation, and giving it back to the Imperium in a form that could serve rather than betray. In that case, the sons of the Phoenix are not a danger, but a miracle, a proof that even the darkest legacy can be reforged into a weapon of light. The Imperium, of course, would never admit such a truth. It survives by certainties, not by dangerous exceptions. And so the sons of the Phoenix fight on beneath their mask, hailed as sons of dawn, watched by allies with awe and unease, their true nature suspended between revelation and ruin. Do they themselves know? Do their chaplains, their apothecaries, their chapter master, carry awareness of the blood that burns within them? Or are they as much victims of the masquerade as those who fight beside them? These questions persist, unanswerable, coiling like smoke through the archives. Only one certainty remains. Whether they are heirs of Dawn or hidden scions of Fulgrim, the sons of the Phoenix burn brilliantly across the battlefields of the Imperium. and in that brilliance lies both the promise of salvation and the threat of catastrophe. The galaxy waits to see which flame will endure.